Welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Today we're joined by Kyle Roof. Kyle's been on the show several times over the past couple of years. So his episodes have been some of the most popular ones we've had going backwards. And today we have him on again. We are talking all about EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. We're talking about it from the context of affiliate marketers, which EAT is an oft mistaken and misunderstood topic when it comes to affiliate marketing. Now, we know about EAT in the SEO community, in the SEO world, but Kyle comes on today to walk us through a really tactile approach to implementing EAT signals on our affiliate websites. He kind of goes through each of the components, the E, which is the expertise, the A, which is the authoritativeness, and the T, which is trustworthiness. He talks about each of them, breaks them down, defines them. So if you have any confusion about which one's which and about which things apply in each sector, he goes through and gives us a great definition for each. But more importantly, he tells us the signals Google needs to see for each of these. And it's really plug and play, you guys. So it's not a really kind of high in the sky theoretical conversation. This is a really practical approach to EAT. We talk about a lot of different things in that conversation. We talk about publishing content in your proper tier that your website is on. We talk about how to build topical authority inside of a publishing calendar and inside of the type of articles that you write. We talk about external links, backlinks. We talk about internal links. We talk about the importance of each. And we dive into the topic of recovery. Kyle's SEO agency has done a lot of recovery audits and recovery efforts. And so I ask him to share the most important things that a site needs to focus on when it's trying to recover from an update. He has some great insights. He also shares what to look for after you have started to put together updates from a site that needs to recover. So it's a deep dive. I'll tell you, it's get your notepad out. I say that sometimes, get your notepad out, because he walks you through a lot of really great things that you can dive into right now on your website, and he walks through exactly how to do it. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, it's Spencer Hawes here, founder of the Niche Pursuits podcast. So I recently read a Twitter thread asking about the most underrated strategy in SEO. One of the most common answers given was internal link building. The reason? Well, sometimes people put so much emphasis on external links, they forget that not only do internal links provide relevancy and SEO benefits, but that Google actually encourages you to build internal links. Now, I get it. Building internal links can often feel time-consuming and boring. And that's why I created Link Whisper. Link Whisper is a powerful WordPress plugin that makes building internal links so much faster and easier. You can quickly get relevant internal link suggestions as you write, and with the simple check of a box, add one or multiple internal links to your articles. And perhaps my favorite time saver is the ability to see how many internal links all my articles have, and to quickly get new internal link suggestions to articles I want to boost in Google. With comprehensive internal link reporting and the ability to add links with the simple check of a box, I can't even imagine going back to building internal links manually. Link Whisper is by far the most powerful, effective, and easiest to use internal link building tool out there. Give it a try, and if you don't agree, I'll give you your money back, no questions asked. In fact, for podcast listeners only, I'm offering a $15 off discount. Just go to linkwhisper.com and use discount code PODCAST at checkout to save $15. So as the creator of Link Whisper, I might be a little biased, but I highly recommend that you head over to linkwhisper.com today to check it out. Again, that's linkwhisper.com, and be sure to use discount code PODCAST at checkout. Thanks again.
All right, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman. Today we are joined by Kyle Roof. Kyle, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back.
You know, I should have looked it up before we got started, but I know for a fact this is at least your third visit with us here. You might even have been on 4 times. You're giving a good go for the number one, the most frequented podcast guest we have. Like I said, I should have looked it up before we got on.
Do I want like a smoking jacket or something? Like I could.
We'll have to talk Spencer into shipping you out a good smoking jacket for maybe like a Letterman jacket. We can like stamp the number of times you've been on it.
With the dates or whatever on the
Yeah,
side.
there you go. Each year or something. So, well,
I've
welcome
really
back.
gotten into tattoos
Obviously,
recently. I could just get it tattooed as well.
that'd be quicker. That'd be quicker. No, welcome back. It's always a good time when you're on. Always so much that we learn, and I will include in the show notes links to your past interviews. They're great listens. I listened to the one that we did last time about a year ago in preparation for today. So still relevant and so really great walk through on page SEO. But before we get into today's topic and what we're doing today, maybe just catch us up, give us some backspeed. We do have a bunch of new listeners since the last time you were on. So, give us a little, the little 80-20 in your life.
Sure. So I'm a co-founder of High Voltage SEO, which is a local to national to international SEO agency. We have offices in Phoenix, in Berlin, and Melbourne. I am the co-creator of Page Optimizer Pro, which is an on-page SEO tool. A lot of exciting new things going on in pop. That's about as pitchy as you're going to get out of me. And then Internet Marketing Gold, IMG. That's where I have courses, and we have about 40 other courses from other instructors. And then that's where we do some tests on Google's algorithm, and I do about a test a month, and we do quarterly reviews. So the quarterly reviews are actually coming up in a couple weeks. But it's kind of a place where you can really learn how to do SEO is kind of the idea, like see what's going on with the tests, and then get a framework for how to apply that with the courses, so you can actually get some knowledge and then actually do some real SEO.
I remarked last time, and I'm still blown away by how many courses you have in there, or how many educational bits and videos. And I mean, it's just it's really in depth for how long it's been around. It hasn't been out that long compared to how much you have in there.
We've gone through a couple iterations. Initially, it was just tests and kind of a community, and I can tell you that people like the tests, but it's often very hard to get something that is extremely actionable. It's just like, oh, that's cool. Or like, oh yeah, no, I might use that, or it might be something like, but it's not anything that becomes a comprehensive strategy for SEO. And so that's when we really made a switch to we're more of a courses platform, because we want people to be able to get the instruction and learn.
Do something with
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah, because ultimately it doesn't matter if you know something super secret and cool. It really matters if you can get a page up and get it to rank, and get people to do what you need them to do once they're there.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Sometimes those tests, they're such a cool buzzworthy result, but maybe fall short for most people on how to put that into play on their website or their SEO work.
It's also like how do all these tests string together too? Like if I have this information, how do I put it together? But really, the idea is that you can get a framework out of the courses, depending on what kind of SEO you're doing. And then when you learn something new for a test, once you have that framework, you probably have a way to plug it in. And that's how I approach it. That I've got my framework, I've got how I do SEO, and then when I learn something new, I know where I can plug that into my formula.
Right. Well, we could talk about that for days, I feel like. Let's let's segue into today's conversation. So you and I were going back and forth talking about basically a topic that is talked about a lot, and because perhaps there's a lot of misinformation about it or vague information about it, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of clarity, especially for the type of marketer that's probably listening to this podcast, internet marketers who are doing content sites, affiliate websites. And that topic, I tried to drag that out as long as I possibly could. That topic is EAT, oft referred to in these circles. And I'm so excited to dive into EAT with you today. And I guess maybe somewhat of the framework I'm personally interested in talking about, certainly is as it relates to these frequent onslaughts of Google updates that are happening and the varied mixture of updates that are happening. So, we've got a great agenda in front of us, but let me turn it over to you to kind of get us going on this topic and start us off with what you want to start with.
Sure. I think an important point is that Google is increasingly more hostile towards affiliate sites. And I don't think it's necessarily because they're affiliate sites. It's because honestly they lack EAT signals. Most affiliate sites do. And the perspective that I'm coming at with is in the agency we do like a recovery audit, so we've taken a lot of time looking at sites that have been hit by what appears to be one of the EAT updates. And while we don't have a perfect recovery rate, we do have a pretty decent recovery rate, and a lot of that is actually getting EAT signals on. on the page. I also come at this from the perspective of we actually have an EAT tool in Page Optimizer Pro. So I've spent a lot of time looking at potential signals, which ones likely are the ones that Google is looking at, and kind of then working through the rationale why these things are important or why you should have on page. So that's kind of the background of where I'm coming from. I spend a lot of time on this, looking at it, thinking about it, working with it, and then trying to help sites either prevent getting slapped or helping sites recover that have been slapped. So
And
I've spent a lot of time.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I don't know if you're going to split it in terms of what we talk about today, but man, you hit the nail on the head. Like, there almost feels like there's two sides of it. There's the EAT, you need to grow your site and almost keep it from getting hit.
Right.
And then there's, oh my goodness, my site has gotten hit. Now, how do I approach EAT, and how do I get EAT on the site to recover the site? I don't know if they're the same. I don't know if they have all the same signals or if you have to do things in varying frequencies, but I'd love to hear a little bit on that too.
I would mention that it's never one thing. Some people are like, well, I've got a current copyright. It's not just ticking one box. I imagine that it's ticking enough of the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Is really what it kind of comes down to. You must tick enough of the boxes, and you can probably get away with not having one and having another one or two of something else. So there is kind of that aspect to it. But I would say that nearly every affiliate site that I see that gets hit has zero EAT, like absolutely no signals whatsoever. And like what so it's almost like the same thing. The thing that would prevent you from getting hit is what you just need to do to recover, because you just have to get these signals on your site.
A bit of one and the same. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not to oversimplify, but if you're new to SEO or you're brand new at listening to this, you might have heard the acronym. It stands for expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness. They each have their own significances. They have been kind of buried and laced within the Google Quality Rater guidelines, which isn't a playbook for the algorithm, but it's a playbook they give people who work for Google who review in real life the way the algorithm is kind of supposed to look. I hope I didn't over summarize it, but let's tap. Which one of those you want to hit first? Which one, the E, the A, or the T?
Start with the T. Let's start with trust. I think that's the most tangible, and the easiest to understand. So trust, really, I think what it comes down to is who's responsible for this content. Google, and it's an important point because we do pull a lot of this from the quality rater guidelines, which would be a human doing something, but you have to keep in mind that this is an algorithm. This is a bot coming to the site. So it has to be obvious for a bot what these signals are. A bot has to be able to find these signals. If it cannot, then you're not going to get credit for them. And this is a misconception a lot of people have, where like when the first round of Medic happened and a lot of legitimate sites got hit, and you as a human can go to the site and be like, oh, this is clearly a real site. That's clearly a real doctor. This is clearly good information. But if a bot can't figure that out, it doesn't care how it looks. It needs to be able to crawl the site and find very specific things. And so when you think about from the concept of who's responsible for this content, if somebody reads this content and they follow the instructions and they are harmed, what can they do? Who can they contact? Or let's say they buy something and it's not the right product. How do they get a refund? Or they buy something that's defective or damaged. How do they get their money back? And so the real big first step is this a real business? And you have to be able to establish that this website is owned by a real business. And so on your site, you should have a local address and a local phone number. Those two things are massive. And I know a lot of affiliates are like, but I don't want to do that. It's like, well, that's
the words out of my mouth.
that is the absolute point of the whole thing, is that if you should be a real business, and if you're taking money from this site, that you should have a business. You should have a business license. And one of the big things that a legitimate business can do is put its address. Now, you don't have to put your home address. You can get a mailing address. You can get an address nearby that is your registered business address, and you can get a local phone number. That those things take a couple steps. And they do cost a little bit a month, but again, that's such a low bar for Google to be able to crawl and say like, okay, this is probably legitimate because they've got an address here. I can actually see their their Google map, their real place, and there's a local phone number that corresponds with this address. It's a very simple step to see, is anybody actually responsible for this content?
Okay, can I ask you a couple of probably way in the weeds questions, but they're ones I have all the time. So where I am, you can go get a post address, like from a postal annex, like a FedEx store. You can like rent a little mailbox there. But I've got to imagine there's 200 other people using that address for their maybe their business. Is that okay? And can Google see it to Postal Annex? And are they okay with that? Is that a trust signal, or is that just not achieving it?
As long as you have a unique address, so your suite 102 and nobody else is suite 102,
Mhm.
and you have the local phone number.
Okay.
That's the key. A lot of people might have like that address, but they don't actually have a local phone number. So you can think about an office complex. It has a lot of real businesses in there. They all have very similar addresses, but they all have a unique suite number and they all have a unique phone number. And so you can just think of your mailbox, et cetera, type place that would give you that address. It's the same thing.
Okay.
That's just the modern office complex at this point.
Second question on that note, if I have several websites and I own them all maybe in a company, or I work at a home and I have a home address, can I blend these? Can several websites use the same address because, for that reason or something?
Again, multiple companies can use the same address. If I were you, I would try to get a unique suite number so that there is a uniqueness there. But then also, if you can't do that, definitely have a unique phone number, because a different business would have a different phone number.
Right. Okay. And I
So
realize
the phone number is the key.
the phone number is the key. Okay. You've made that clear. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry. And we've heard it before, but I think the way that you say it is really, I think I want to repeat it just because it really made sense to me. Like, even if you're just a content website and you think, well, people can't order products from me, or if I'm an affiliate website, I'm not actually the one who makes the products. I just recommend the products. But you're right. If somebody follows your advice, how can they get in touch with you if they need to, if something happens? That's a really good way to frame it for specifically affiliate websites who might think, well, I don't actually make a product, so I don't think that really applies.
Yeah, but it just applies because you have to be a business. You are in the business of making money, and people need to know how to contact you if they need to get a hold of you. In that same vein, you should have multiple email addresses. How many of affiliate sites have you seen that just have some blank generic contact form where you click contact us, and then the lamest looking, out of focus, contact us little box pops up. That's going straight to nowhere.
Mhm.
Real companies have multiple departments. They've got a refunds department, they've got a complaints department, they've got general inquiries, they've got media inquiries. You should have multiple email addresses on your site for those different departments. The more you can do, the more legitimate you are. Now, they can all funnel to one email address. They can all funnel to an admin at type thing so that you can keep that organized. But there should be different departments for different things that people might need to contact you. So the more you can show that, hey, we've got these different departments or these different things, the better it is for you.
Interesting. Okay. And you obviously have to showcase that on the site somewhere because, to your point, the bot has to be able to crawl that and see it and understand it.
So like I would put like my address and my phone number in my footer. I would also put it on the contact us page. This is our business address, and then there you can put all of your emails as well.
Okay. Okay. These are
And
all under the trust banner.
that's right. And then kind of within this section as well, I would have an about the company page, like an about us page, and I'd have an about the team page, where you're showing that you have a company and you're describing your company's journey, and you've got a page where you're describing who's actually the team. The team could just be one person, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But I would have a page where it does say about us or about the team. And that's something that's really easy for a bot to crawl and just see that you've taken the time to put that on there. So it's not necessarily anything you need on the page beyond that, but just that link is a very easy thing to crawl to see that there is structure to this company.
What are the different things that I would want to include on the about the company page versus what I would want to include on the about the team page? Is about the team maybe more personal information, or
That's
does
right.
that kind of
It's
get into
about the
expertise a
humans.
bit?
The humans that are in the company would be about the team, and then the about the company page is like about when the company was founded,
Right.
what its purpose is, what its core values are, that kind of stuff. And to
Okay.
be honest with you, it doesn't really matter what is on these things. I'm actually more interested in that the link is crawlable,
Yeah.
and that these are indexed pages. That it's a page that's indexed, and that link clearly says like about us,
Mhm.
about the team, about the company, like something like that within the link, and that's very easy for a bot to crawl.
Okay. I'll probably ask you a few more questions about that, about the team page, maybe a little bit later, because I know you're going to get into some of the expertise topics and stuff.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. So that's kind of like in the trust category. I think the trust category kind of has two sections. You've got, is this a real business? And then the next section would be, is this a real website? And these are pretty straightforward. You need something, you need a current copyright. You need the little C on there, and you need the current date. I see tons of sites that have been slapped that haven't even made it that far. You want things like privacy policy, terms and conditions, refunds, complaints, whatever. Like those are actual links that go to pages that give that information. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know that Google's going to go in and they're going to read your terms and conditions because they're pretty boilerplate
Yep.
across the web. But I would make sure that they are indexed pages. They're pages that and it says what it is in the link to that page. I think that's all you need to do. You want to make sure you've got cookie or GDPR notices on the site. If you're in the U.S., especially in California, you want to make sure you're ADA compliant. I think those are all signals. And then some of the things that just kind of go into regular technical SEO that a real website would do would be, you've obviously got your SSL going, your mobile friendly, limited 404s, limited broken links, no 500s, those types of things. I think they cumulatively send a signal that somebody's caring for this website, that it's a real website and the website is being maintained.
Are sitemaps at all important in this conversation?
Totally. So that's actually one of the things that I would definitely always do is not just your XML sitemap, but an HTML sitemap.
Oh, okay.
An HTML sitemap is a tree, if you will, of links on that go into your site. And the reason you want to do that is that the number one way that Google likes to find a page is to click a link and go to it. And that can be a link on your site. It doesn't have to be an external link. And so you want to give Google the opportunity to get into your site to see all of your pages, especially these pages that we're talking about in terms of EAT factors. But I want Google to get into like all my supporting pages, and those might be kind of deep in my site. I want Google to get to all my hub pages and then all my money pages. And so, yeah, an HTML sitemap is a big part of this.
Most SEO plugins will generate an XML sitemap for you very easily. You submit that through Google Search Console. What's the process? What do you recommend for HTML sitemaps?
So a lot of those plugins that do those XMLs will also do an HTML 140, so it'll automatically update. So
Okay.
something just easy like that is totally fine.
Easy. So it's easier than it. Okay, good. Easy.
And we ran a test in IMG years back, and somebody had 1,000 links on a page, and Google crawled them all and indexed all the pages.
Oh
So
my
Google
God.
can get through a lot on those. You know what's kind of fun too is it didn't go in order. Like it didn't start with like one and just work its way down to 1,000. It did like 10 here, 3 over here, 5, 6.
Is
It
that
was actually
is
pretty
that
cool to
because it was
watch.
crawling and then while it got to a page, it found other links and kind of just started going down that path? You think? I mean,
I don't know. That's a great question.
that's
It's a great no,
interesting.
no, no, because they were all orphan pages. So that was the
Oh, they were
idea
all
of
orphans. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
It was
really
like
interesting then.
to prove that like they are going and then that page is being indexed from that. So there's no interlinking between them.
Oh, geez, that is
It
fascinating
was
then.
just like a scatter shot across the page, but eventually they all got crawled and indexed.
So it sounds like even Google can fall victim to shiny object syndrome.
Google has my form of ADD. Where I just bounce around the page,
It
kind of work my way around
sounds
it.
like
It
how I
just
would probably go through the sitemap.
seems logical to me.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. I cut you off on the sitemap conversation. You were talking about
no, no, no. That was
GDPR.
about it. That's what you want. It's huge for indexing. It's huge for Google getting in, and you're building all these pages to show that you should be in the SERPs. That you satisfy EAT, and so having that HTML sitemap is a real excellent secret weapon. Um, in order to ensure that you're protecting your site.
There is a lot of question marks around we'll call it everything that falls under like the site audit, right? The technical
Mhm.
side of things and how important that is for EAT. Obviously, it's important not to have a ton of 404 pages, although some aren't terrible. It's important to, have a lot of those technical components set up. You don't want redirect chains, you don't want all that stuff. But from a broad perspective, it seems that from what you went over, those are pretty much the basics, right? Like that's not really a
Basic stuff.
technical, in-depth journey into a website.
No, no, no. I would just make sure that like you don't have an inordinate amount. Every site has 404s, pretty much, but just that you don't have like a ton of them, and you don't have a ton of broken links. As soon as Google's hitting broken links, I think it's going to start flagging like nobody's taking care of this website,
Yeah,
and there's no reason for it to be in the search, especially N500 errors. Those are server side errors. You definitely don't want those. You get enough of those, Google will start removing your pages, and rightfully so.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Man, is that all for trust?
That's the trust section.
That's the meat and
Let's get
potatoes.
on
Okay.
to expertise. I think expertise is the least understood concept of all this. And really, it's like, do you need an expert? Do you need a doctor? Do you need a PhD?
Yes.
Do you need somebody with all this experience on your site? And the answer is no. Google, and I think it's important to understand that Google isn't doing value judgments. People want to believe that Google is, but Google isn't. Because think about, what's a better degree, Stanford or Yale? You
Both sound
know,
great to me, frankly, but
I know exactly. They're both probably unbelievable degrees because they're excellent schools. Like, so like if you like, well, we've got this doctor and they got their degree from Stanford, but this one over here got their degree from MIT. Like that's not anything that Google's doing. Or what if somebody's just been in the field for 30 years and they have no degrees?
right.
Are they more or less valuable in terms of expertise than somebody that might be in their first year right out of school, but with an excellent degree? So Google isn't going to make that value judgment. What you really need here is a real person.
Okay.
That's it. And you need to establish that the people that are writing this content are real. And that's where the expertise comes in. It's that this is a person that is taking responsibility for this content, and this is a real person. And that's really what the expertise comes down to. It's what you need are author pages, like author bio pages. And then on all of your articles, you're putting author schema, citing back to those author bio pages. So this is separate from the Meet the Team page. Like the Meet the Team page, actually, when you click on that team member, it might go to their author bio page.
Yep.
It's totally fine. And in there, you need to establish as much as you can, like a LinkedIn, maybe a Facebook, Twitter handle, stuff like that. If they've got, it's easy to put stuff into Google Books, anything that somebody's published, you can get links out to that. So you're kind of saying like, this is a real person. They've done real things. But it doesn't have to be somebody with these amazing credentials. And that's the only way to get past the expertise. It just has to be a real person.
Okay. So many questions on this already. Number one, personas are out, especially for affiliate websites. That's pretty clear from what it sounds like from what you're saying. Common practice, especially 5-6 years ago.
I know a lot of people that can establish a fake LinkedIn and establish a real that. So
Right.
I mean, essentially, they are making a real person. But
yeah,
I would
but
try
fake
to
personas, I guess, meaning that nothing is being done to establish it. It's just a person with a headshot that's made up. So that's not good for EAT. And people know that's not good for EAT, but you kind of went into why. So maybe let's unpack that a bit. You said author page, author schema, and then let's get some social profiles to support them. Let's talk about those social profiles. What about someone who is active in their space and is an expert, right? Like if you were talking to them about it, they would come across as an expert. They have knowledge, they have history, but they don't have LinkedIn. And even if they did have LinkedIn, it didn't support any of the things they were doing because it's really something that else they have their LinkedIn about, right? Like these scenarios.
But you're not looking to establish that they're an expert through LinkedIn. You're looking to establish that they're human.
That they're a real person.
Yeah, that's the main component, that this is an actual person. So if their LinkedIn doesn't really support what they're doing, that's fine. If they have links to pages that are certifications or scholarly papers they've written, definitely put those in as well. But again, you're not trying to establish that they are the expert. You're just trying to establish that they're real.
Perfect. Okay, good clarity. Author schema. That's a fun one. I think most affiliates are probably using schema or structured data markup on their pages. Maybe how-to schema, FAQ schema is pretty popular. But I wonder how many are using author schema. Are you seeing that commonly out there? Or is that a big mistake that a lot of people
I can tell you that people are not. I can tell you that people are not, but they should. They should. Because really what you want to say is like, this article is written by this person who is a real person. Here's their bio page on our site. And that's what you're referencing within the structured data, as you're saying, this real person, Bill, and you can read about Bill over here, and you can go to social profiles and stuff like that to just make that connection that this is an actual person that's written this stuff.
Okay. And I love the distinction because it can be really confusing. So you were saying, make sure that you link, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, if I'm rehashing, but it's an important distinction because author page is, think WordPress, it's like the native taxonomy that WordPress offers you as an author. That's not linking back to the about team page because that's not their actual author page, correct?
Correct. So you want to link to their personal, like this is their bio page. However you want to set that up is totally fine. Usually that like about the team page will probably list who your authors are, and you can click from that page and go to their bio page. That's totally fine. And you can even link back to the About Us page, or, about the team page too, from that author about page if you'd like. But the important point is that page exists that is about that particular author. And then in the schema and the articles that they are writing, you are referencing that page.
So the bot can connect it all. And the reason I'm asking some super detailed questions, which forgive me, I'm getting super into the weeds, but man, I'll tell you, it's so helpful to listen to one of these and, you hear about author schema and you actually hear a lot of the dots connected too. So it's, for example, but yeah, it's really great to have you go into depth on it. Thank you.
Oh, no, these are not in the weeds at all. I think these are really important things. And I can't stress enough. I have seen people that have like, well, we have author pages or we have this, we have that, and in the end of the day, some people do get swept up. That's just the unfortunate thing on this. But I can say the majority of the time, people are barely touching on any of these things.
I was going to say,
I can tell you why. They suck to do.
They're boring. They're so tedious.
The worst part of it. It is the worst part, and it costs a little money because now I have to go do this. I have to pay them $50 a month, and I have to pay that $10 a month. My affiliate site's only making $70 a month, so you're telling me I got to pay like $80 to make this happen? Yeah. That's
the new world we live in.
Business. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know it sucks. But believe me.
Fair enough. Maybe this is a bit off topic, but maybe a good time to ask it. Is there a right time to do this? Do you need to do it out of the gate? You do need to do it out of the gate. So first post goes live, get going on this too.
Yeah. The longer you wait, I think the less likely you are to actually do it. And then you're thinking like, oh my God, I got to back through all these pages. So, it just like most states in the US allow you to operate for like somewhere between 30 and 90 days before you have to have a business license. So you got to figure it's, I would use that as my guideline for when I want to get these things on, because again, you need to be legitimate. You need to be real. And the unfortunate thing is a lot of affiliate sites are trying not to be legitimate. They're like intentionally trying not to be real. And you can see why then they're getting swept up in these updates.
Yeah. Okay. So we're deep in on expertise, and your big point was real person, less about how much of an expert they are, more about how much of a real person they are. Carry on. Don't let me stop you.
That kind of covers expertise, because that's really what it boils down to is a real person. That's it. That's really all you need to do. The next part would be authoritativeness. And I've heard people say like, aha, well, this is where I need an expert, because I need the authority. And it's not, in this case, the term is not in a person, it's in the site. Mm-hmm. And it's really the idea here is topical authority. Have you answered all the questions? Have you covered the breadth of what this topic is? And it's not just answering a lot of questions as well, it's ranking for a lot of those question terms, or ranking for a lot of those concepts. So the more you are ranking for, the better you will be when these updates come along, and especially ranking for these particular topic terms. So what I like to do in this situation is I like to create supporting pages for my target page. And an easy way to do it is to look at people also ask type questions. Mm-hmm. Questions that don't quite work on maybe your target page, on your money page, but they're still within the realm. And they're really just still within the realm of the site in general. And then I think in my last time I was on, we talked about natural tier. This is what I use this for, is I try to find terms that are within my natural tier. So basically I can launch them and just put the question in the title tag and in the H1 and answer the question, and it's going to rank on its own without any SEO, because I launched something that was within my tier. So I'm trying to boost kind of the natural strength of the site with this content. At the same time, I'm really protecting myself from each situations, because I'm now answering a lot of questions, or I'm providing a lot of value, a lot of information about the particular topic.
So let me ask you about that, because that's going down a perfect path. I just ran into the situation actually with a client at my agency a week or two ago. And it's about this concept of, in order to gain topical authority, do you write articles about something inside that topic that you won't be able to rank for, i.e. it would be outside of your natural tier, but seemingly essential to building out the topic as a complete hub on your page, really, on your site, that is.
Sure. Especially if you see all the competitors doing it, I would do it. That's one of the things where you can take the top 3, top 5 competitors that are always ranking pretty well. And then if they all have the same page, even if it's out of your league, that's probably a good page to have on your site.
Write it. And don't worry if you don't rank for it. It doesn't mean that it's, you should delete it down the road. Write it because it helps your topical authority. But don't get too crazy with that. Don't do too many of those.
I would just do a handful of those, to be honest with you. I do the ones that are glaring, like, okay, these are obviously, this is important to the topic, and then I would get that on there. But for the rest of them, I'd really make an effort to publish within my tier. And a tier is something, if you like avalanche theory, which I do,
Hmm.
and that's a good go to Builder Society, and it's called SEO with No Resources, and read that article, and that's a great foundation for what we're talking about. I think you do need to expand beyond that to make it a complete system, but it is fantastic writing. And what I found is in our agency, we were doing this, but we just didn't have the right terms for it. And then once we had the right terms for it, then we could really take it and explode it. And I recommend doing that. But it's also not just for getting the clicks and impressions, but I really do think it's going to help you with these signals as well, because you're going to start ranking for topical terms quickly,
I
and then
think
you're
you
going to
bring up a
become
good
that authority.
from that authority. And that's what I wanted to maybe ask you a second time. I heard you say it's not just about writing it; it's about ranking it. You have to
Yeah,
rank it, and I think that that's new to me, but it makes total sense. I haven't really thought about it that way, but I think sometimes maybe we get caught up in, well, I wrote the 5 informational posts about this topic. What? Come on, Google. Like I built out the silo, but you actually need to rank it in order for it to help you at least with the authority. Is that what you're saying?
for sure. And let's say you're having trouble figuring out like what your tier is. Go to zero search, zero volume search. Those are your friend. Start publishing on those because you're going to rank for them quickly. And it turns out they don't have zero
Yeah.
volume,
Go
and
figure.
it's likely that your competitors are just going to ignore them anyway. So this is a real opportunity to get stuff on. I would also be very careful about, you don't need to do like very close iterations of the exact same thing. You don't want to really start cannibalizing yourself. I don't think that's as big a problem as people think it is, but you don't have to be specifically like right on whatever your target keyword is. It just has to be kind of generally around the topic.
Yeah, because those
Like,
PAs can get very similar if you let yourself get too far in the weeds.
so don't do that. Like, don't just do like one, blue sweaters, green sweaters, yellow sweat. Like that's not really what you want to do. I would say though, I did see one that went a little too far afield, and a friend of mine gave an example that I think is on point. The idea is that you've got a site about apple pie. So you have an article about an apple pie recipe, and then you have an article about apples, and then you have an article about apple trees, and then you have an article about orchards.
Hmm.
And I think orchards has gone a little too far, because that's not really related to apple pies anymore. You might be able to maybe make the leap that a certain type of or variety of apple is good for certain types of apple pie recipes. So maybe that's where the tree would come in. But once you get into orchards, and now you're talking about like orange trees, peach trees,
You're
you've
off.
gone way too far.
You've
So
lost the mark.
you can kind of like, you can go too tight, but you can also go a little too wide. So you do want to find that sweet spot. And for me, what actually does that is being conscious of my tier. It does really kind of keep me within that sweet spot of I'm pretty well connected to what I'm doing.
And you touched on it in the previous episode. So people who want to talk more about the tier, the natural tier, really should go back and listen to that. And I remember you talking about how you know when you can move to the next tier really is based on your website's kind of total traffic. Now, let me just drill in a bit on that. First off, do I have that correct? It is kind of a traffic type of metric that you bump tiers up with.
That's right, traffic or impressions. Within the article that I mentioned, there's a good kind of starting chart. You'll want to adjust that as you work with it to kind of identify what the tiers are. But clicks is the easiest way to understand it, for sure.
Do I need, so my secondary question to that, this is a question I had after we did the episode last time, and then I got off and went and read the article, and I was like, dang it, where's Kyle? I have one more question for him. So here we are
Just
1 year
send me a
later.
message. Just send me a message anytime. You
I
got my
should have.
number.
You're right. I should have sent you a message. But okay, I'll ask it for the whole world to hear. Does that need to be topically specific, the traffic that I get, or is it website specific?
Website specific.
Okay.
And that's also something that I found when I build out silos, which would be kind of like the other secret weapon. Like if the HTML sitemap is a secret weapon that people overlook, the silos would also be a secret weapon that people overlook. When you're siloing these things, it doesn't have to be like just whatever that target page is. It just has to be website general,
Okay.
what
Okay.
you're putting into the silo. And so what I really try to do is I create pages that are supporting pages, and they only live to support that target page. And that is it. So they only link to each other, and they only link to the target page, and that is all. I don't care about the menu, the sidebar or the footer. This is just contextual links inside the content. And that's the only links they have. They're like, well, can I link to another? No. Can I link to an external? No. Like, there are good times to do that. And there are things you should create content on your site that does do that, but that's not what this is. I'm creating these supporting pages so I can rank quickly, and I can start building my topical authority, and I'm linking them together to link up to my target page so that as they get those clicks and impressions and rank for keywords, they build their own strength. You kind of create this little engine of good where then they start to feed and give juice to each other and pass out more and more juice to your target page. It reduces your reliance on external backlinks.
And to bring it all the way back, I mean, the idea here is certain. There's other benefits, but in the context of what we're talking about EAT and the authority, and this is basically kind of I don't want to say shortcut because that's a dangerous word in this world we live in, but it's probably one of the fast track ways to gain authority in a certain topic, right? Like, that's kind of the value of what you're talking about here.
And authoritative sites need fewer backlinks.
Right.
So if you're doing this, if you're setting it up where you're going after these particular terms, you're interlinking in this particular way, you will need fewer backlinks. You are actually becoming the topical authority.
So a lot of times I hear authority being mentioned. And again, it's not, we know, like, domain rating, DR, DA, these are third-party metrics, but I hear authority being talked about mainly as like a strength of backlink profile. You haven't really said links until just now. So your authority really looks at the value Google gives you by traffic for the topics you're covering, and links play what role in that?
The thing, you're 100% right. I don't think backlinks give you any kind of authority really, other than they push you out of your tier. So let's say, you're at a level 3. That's not really a number in this parlance, but let's say you're level 3. You throw a bunch of backlinks and you get pushed up to level 6. And then Google decides it doesn't like those backlinks anymore, so it takes them away. You didn't get hit by an update. You got put back down where you belong. Because that's your authority level. So like your DR or TF or
Whatever.
You are whatever you like.
Yeah.
Was measuring the backlinks, but that's a real risky investment in terms of, like, if you're going to build that as your whole SEO strategy. What I think actual authority is what, like, you launch a page for a particular keyword, Google trusts you without any SEO and ranks you immediately. That's what I think authority is.
So, devil's advocate, then, where do links play a positive role in that environment or in that scenario?
You will need to go after terms that are above your tier, for sure. I mean, that's not every term. Money terms are not going to be in your tier to start off, and you will need to have backlinks to make that happen. Yep. There is a point where the sidewalk ends with on page, for sure. And that's where those links would come in. So the idea would be, as you build those links, you're also building out that supporting content that is naturally raising your tier. So, because sites do get to a point that they don't need backlinks anymore. Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate goal. Now you have to have a huge site. You have to have a huge site for that, and you have to be around for a long time. But that is the ultimate goal, where you have built up enough of this content that you're beyond backlinks, and sites get to that point.
Okay. Anything else on authority? I
think that covers it. That covers the E, the A, the T, and my 2 secret weapons. Oh, one thing I would mention: if you're like, oh, I'd like to start putting myself into a silo that's not there yet, don't change any internal links on your site. Like, if you change the internal links on your site, you're going to change how Google has factored the pages, how links are flowing. There's a good chance you're going to drop. So don't change any internal links. You can add 2 pages. You can kind of niche edit, your own pages, but don't change any of your internal links. Start fresh, and build out.
Let's talk about that, because that's on my list of, I hope we get to it, topics here. Let's create that scenario where a website is ready to move on to the next topic. First off, like, how do you know when a topic should be off limits for your topical silo, your topical authority, right? Like, I'm guessing that in the grander scheme of things, when we're talking about apple pies, there are natural next topics that make sense for that website that Google will give you a listen, right? We'll at least take a look. And then if you start talking about orange trees, that's probably too far. Or is it really, you could talk about apple pies and then move on to orange trees as long as you did all this right? Like, how do we process what is the next topic to go into?
That is a super hard thing to determine. When is a topic exhausted? And the idea is that we can move on to the next topic. Um, that's a very tricky one, and I don't know that there's a great answer there. That is
Okay,
kind of playing more by feel
that's fair.
than anything. Because how do you know? It's kind of one of those things like how long is a piece of string?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's as
What's
long as you want it to be.
it's but it does sound like you would say to maybe put off that decision until you've really fully built out the silo you're on right now.
For sure. And you can definitely look at it like, are we talking about trees just for the sake of trees now? Like, does it really get into anything that we really want to talk about on apple pie? So you can kind of that's where the judgment would be.
Yeah.
You can also kind of see it too. Like if you look at like the related searches at the bottom of the SERPs and you click and you kind of go over one adjacent and you click and go over one adjacent and you click and go one adjacent, um, you'll see that they're still kind of on track. So once you realize you're kind of outside of those concepts and you've
Oh.
gone several over, then you can probably get a good feel that maybe this isn't in our topical vertical anymore.
That's a good litmus. That's a good litmus test. Yeah, I think there's a tendency if you don't stay laser sharp focused on your topic. Like we talked about shiny object syndrome earlier. Like you can just get to the bottom of a topic and just be a bit exhausted from it and maybe bounce to a different one too early.
True. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So we've been doing all this under the topic of EAT and the necessity for content websites, affiliate websites, probably specifically to have EAT, and how you said the vast majority is usually missing from affiliate websites. Do you think that this is how many of these do you need? I guess like there's a lot of boxes here. Obviously, the goal is to get all of them checked. Like in your experience, do you need the vast majority of these, or is there kind of a sloping gain that comes from doing each one incrementally?
you need them all, I think. I wouldn't take the risk of not doing one. I think the address and local phone number and email addresses are the big three, and then author pages. So like those would be the big four for sure. Like if you really had to like pick and choose, I would make sure I've got those done. Um, but the things that I listed, I think are ultimately pretty easy to do. That's a couple days worth of not fun work, but then it's pretty much done.
It's done.
And I would totally get all of it done. And
Okay.
a lot of it now, like with your privacy policy, terms and conditions, complaints, GDPR, ADA compliance, a lot of it's a plugin now, that takes care of a lot of that for you. So it's just more of like get the right plugin going, making sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do, and then you're pretty much good to go.
Are there any other factors to EAT that maybe have less, positive influences, but might be something that people can look at? Let's say that people listen to this podcast, they go put their head down. 2 days later, they've got it all cranked out, and they're saying, "Man, I love this EAT stuff. What else can I do? What are other areas that maybe aren't quite as essential, but that can also help over time with my EAT kind of score or perspective from Google?"
What you should totally do is go read the quality raters guidelines. They update every year. You can actually some people do some analysis on what changed, look at what changed, and then the thought process, the rationale is like, why would they want to see that? And then another way to look at it is like, what's a real world thing that would replicate this? What would this be in the real world? How can we then do that online? And that is just a really good exercise to go through and read those guidelines, because it'll give you a pretty good feel of what they're looking for, what they're looking at, what should be on your site. So that's a very good exercise to go through, and then they'll probably find things that I didn't cover,
Right.
and things that also probably are maybe specific to their niche or their type of website.
And they give a lot of examples there too. I mean, it's not just a boring long read. It's long, but there's far more examples than I thought there would be when I first went over there.
This is one of those things that kind of goes back to like how many people have actually read Google's guidelines. It's only like 30 pages,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say 10% of all SEOs have actually ever read it. And then you got to figure if that's like 30-ish pages, when you get into like this thing, which was like 130 pages, what do you got? 2% of everybody's read it.
Well,
Think about
remember,
the edge. Think about the edge you can get if you read it.
right? Well, if that few people are actually reading it, now you have a past in law though, so that means you love reading. I have to assume, and you're a
I do
fast
have a
reader.
I do have a way to read boring things. It's one of my super skills.
Yeah.
So like what's my superpower? I can read boring things. But there are cliff notes too. Like if you're really, really stuck on it, there are cliff notes, and at least read those.
Okay, I have a couple more questions for you. I'd love to hear a little bit more about Pop's EAT like scoring system you talked about. Like that's really intriguing. I didn't know that. What is it, and how does it work? Does it kind of spit a score out, or is it kind of framed around a lot of things you talked about?
So what we do is we go through the quality rater guidelines. We pull out the ones that can be easily identified by a bot, and then what we do is we go through your competitors, say in the top 10, and we pick
Mm,
out how many have actually done that particular thing. So then you can see like, okay, all 10 have done this, all 10 have done that, 8 have done this, and then you can kind of down only one is doing this one. And it's kind of giving you the idea, it can kind of help you with an order of importance. Within our niche, seem to be, because these sites have gone through several medic updates, they're still there. So these are the things we might want to focus on. And it goes through a few more things than I listed here. We're actually updating it, I think next week. We're going to add in a few more things from the most current quality raters guidelines. Additionally, we're going to give out some free credits on it too, because we want more people to use, especially the affiliates. So even if like they had an old account, you can get in and actually use EAT and check it out.
okay. Well, so you literally teased my next question. Competitors. It's so common to see your website suffer in rankings and go to a competitor's site that is ranking ahead of you, and they don't check any or many of these boxes. Talk about
They're
that.
cheating.
Yeah,
They're
just
cheating to like one eye.
yeah, exactly. Maybe, but yeah, I mean, what do we do with that? Do we just put our head down and keep focusing? Why are they ranking higher than us? I mean, it's a very big question that can't be answered without a specific scenario. But maybe what are some of the things that could be contributing to that?
Usually what I find is those sites are a lot bigger. They're a lot bigger in one sense. And the other thing is there's inertia. A site that has been ranking number one will continue to rank number one longer than it won't. So if like somebody beats you to the punch and they've been there for a couple of years, it's likely that they're locked in, and it's going to take a long time to refactor their pages to get them to drop.
Mm.
So the size of their site and the time that they've been in that ranking position might be playing very large factors.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, yeah, that's true. Once something gets number one, it is
Hard to
harder
move.
to unseat it. Yeah. Um, let's maybe start to bring this thing to a close. We started talking about EAT and its importance in gaining rankings, but also its importance in recovery. And you were doing a lot of recovery audits. I think obviously we have here, and you already said, hey, do this stuff to recover. It's just as important in recovery as it is to gain rankings. But I would love to hear more insights from you on what people can do to recover, because it's been we're recording this at the end of 2022. It'll come out, I'm guessing, early 2023. But the roadmap probably won't be changing that much for Google. They released a lot of updates in 2022 and a lot of different kinds of updates. We've got core updates, which have been around for a while, but we also have product review updates that affect affiliate marketers. We have this new helpful content update that people are still seeing how that plays out in brass tacks. And then we have these spam updates. So that's a lot of updates. And I'd love to get any outside insights beyond EAT in terms of recovery for affiliate marketers or content creators that might have gotten wrapped up and hit in one of those.
Sure. Um, it's important to understand that sites that rank for more keywords perform better. They also recover faster, and they can absorb more toxicity. If you and I have the exact same size site, it has 2,000 pages, and we have the exact same backlink profile, but you rank for 20,000 keywords and I rank for 2,000 keywords. If we launch the same page, you're going to outrank me. At the same time, if we both get hit by some nasty negative SEO campaign, you are likely to survive. At the same time, if we both decide to do black hat techniques on something, you are likely to do very, very well, and I'm likely to get penalized. So I think it's imperative to continue to focus to try to rank for more keywords.
Mm.
That's part of the authority part, of this. But it's also, I think, just a good rule for anyone that's building their site, anybody that might have been slapped, they think they've been hit by something. Try to build out these pages to start to rank for more keywords. And then that's kind of a big first road to recovery. You can also see, like, if you're just gonna be in jail for a long time, where if you launch something, it should totally be in your tier, and you're just not ranking, it might be time to take a break from that site for a little bit. Like let it settle, because you might just be spinning your wheels, and nothing you're gonna do at this moment is gonna help you recover.
Is most recovery are you seeing happen in subsequent updates, or does it start to happen in between an update?
You do start to see movement, which is an encouragement, right? That you can see it, but then you don't really see things like actually recover and come back until it appears there might have been another refactoring, which was probably tied to a similar update.
Should I be looking like if I put my head down and start really knuckling down on this kind of stuff, building out EAT, getting better topical silos built, actually going after keywords that are in my tier. If I start doing this stuff and I'm producing content, I'm actually doing all of it. Should I be looking in GSC for an increase in impressions, higher crawl rate? Like, are these actual signals, or is it no? It's all just wait until the update comes around.
There are two things you'll probably likely see. One is that you will gain keywords. You can actually monitor how many keywords your sites are ranking for, and your pages in particular. Pages that are healthy should be gaining keywords and they should be growing. That will result in an increase in impressions. But the interesting thing is you'll often see a decrease in click-through rate. As you rank for more keywords,
Yeah.
they're ranking lower, so your click-through rate will drop. It freaks people out. You'll see a drop in CTR and you'll see a drop in ranking position, like, but you're gaining impressions. And if you're gaining impressions, that's a really good sign. It
Oh,
just means those
good.
terms are lower and they're taking time to move their way up. But as long as your impressions are going up, you're in a good spot.
Right. If you go from 100 keywords on a page to 200, most likely those new 100 keywords are going to be in spots 80 and spots 90. And that means that they're not going to get clicked on much because no one clicks on anything there, but they will show up. Okay, that's great. That's good. Okay. So impressions are really important, and so are keywords.
For sure. For sure. For sure.
That was a good lesson in EAT.
I hope it provides some clarity and direction. That's all
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, to kind of start to bring it back home and summarize, like affiliate marketers particularly really do struggle with this topic of expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And a lot of it does go around the fact that a lot of affiliate marketers, they're not doctors, they're not lawyers. They don't necessarily have a lot of experience as a practitioner in their field, whether it's something they went into because they saw SEO value in it, or it's something they went into because they have a passion for it. A lot of times passions don't have degrees that come along with it. And there's a lot of myths floating around, right? Like, do I need to go rent a doctor for my website, or borrow the guy who won the largest cow at the state fair to be on my, my site or whatever? And so I really like how you've added so much, like this is really a tactile one. It's not like an ethereal interview about EAT. Like this is a really tactile approach people can take for their affiliate website.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think honestly, the more you do, the less likely you are to get hit. So I would jump on as much as you can, as soon as you can.
So let's see, where can people follow along? I'm sure at this point, a lot of people will, be attuned to your work and seeing your work. But where's the best place people can go follow along with what you're doing?
You can go to kyleroof.com. That's the easiest one. All my stuff is there. There are links to like Page Optimizer Pro. There are links to IMG, links to the agency, stuff like that. That's all right there.
Okay.
And
Kyle, thank you.
When this goes live, people will be able to watch this interview from there as well. They can click and go right in.
We'll get that in there. And like you said, it's not, this isn't, we're, if for those who don't know, we pre-record these. So this, your EAT updates in POP, in Page Optimizer Pro will undoubtedly be live by then.
Yeah. And actually the free credits for EAT and NLP, Google's NLP API will be in there as well. So
good.
By the time people are watching this, they'll be able to get some free looks at it and see if it's something that's for them.
Well, Kyle, thank you. Again, don't know if this is number 3 or number 4 or whatever it is, but you're always a treat to have on. You always provide a ton of value. Your previous episodes have been some of the most popular ones. And so thank you again for bringing so much great knowledge today.
Oh, I love being here. Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it.
All right. Well, I say this at the end, until we talk again, but I'm sure we will talk again on the podcast. So.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, it's Spencer Hawes here, founder of the Niche Pursuits podcast. So I recently read a Twitter thread asking about the most underrated strategy in SEO. One of the most common answers given was internal link building. The reason? Well, sometimes people put so much emphasis on external links, they forget that not only do internal links provide relevancy and SEO benefits, but that Google actually encourages you to build internal links. Now, I get it. Building internal links can often feel time-consuming and boring. And that's why I created Link Whisper. Link Whisper is a powerful WordPress plugin that makes building internal links so much faster and easier. You can quickly get relevant internal link suggestions as you write, and with the simple check of a box, add one or multiple internal links to your articles. And perhaps my favorite time saver is the ability to see how many internal links all my articles have, and to quickly get new internal link suggestions to articles I want to boost in Google. With comprehensive internal link reporting and the ability to add links with the simple check of a box, I can't even imagine going back to building internal links manually. Link Whisper is by far the most powerful, effective, and easiest to use internal link building tool out there. Give it a try, and if you don't agree, I'll give you your money back, no questions asked. In fact, for podcast listeners only, I'm offering a $15 off discount. Just go to linkwhisper.com and use discount code PODCAST at checkout to save $15. So as the creator of Link Whisper, I might be a little biased, but I highly recommend that you head over to linkwhisper.com today to check it out. Again, that's linkwhisper.com, and be sure to use discount code PODCAST at checkout. Thanks again.